Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol and welcome to the brand new BMW 1 Series. Now I'm here today with BMW UK on the UK press drives of the 1 Series, and this video I'm actually going to do with two cars. I'm currently sat in the 118i, very interesting car because this is a front wheel drive BMW, and then after this I'm going to drive the M135i, lots more horsepower, 4-wheel drive, pretty much equivalent to the JCW Clubman I reviewed on the channel very recently, but I thought you'd like to come along for the ride, so let's get cracking, find out all about the 118i. Okay, well, first thing to say is I've never actually driven a BMW 1 Series before, so I'm coming at this with a completely blank canvas. I'm expecting the car to impress me, but I'm not necessarily sure how yet. First impressions when you get in the car is it feels really solid and really well put together. It has a lovely thick steering wheel with quite a heavy feel to it. But let's find out just a little bit more about the 118i that I'm sat in terms of specs and performance and price.
The 118i is actually powered by a 1.5 litre 3-cylinder petrol engine with 140 horsepower and 220 newton meters. The dash to 62 takes 8.5 seconds and its top speed is 132 miles an hour. It's economical too, with a WLTP MPG of 47.1 to 40.4. Front wheel drive and transverse engine mounting means reduced centre tunnel, more rear passenger room with 33mm more legroom and 20 litres more boot space. The 1 Series also borrows tech from the i3 to improve traction, leading to a sportier driving feel.
As I said, I'm here with BMW UK on the press drives, but I do have to drive from where I picked the car up to Brighton, where I'm going to overnight, and then tomorrow morning I'm going to get to drive the M135i, more power and 4-wheel drive. But this 118 is interesting because it's front wheel drive. And I know when it was announced it was going to be front wheel drive, there was a kind of huge uproar from many BMW fans. You know, how dare a BMW, the ultimate driving machine, famous for being rear wheel drive, be front wheel drive? Now, I'll admit it, I am a bit of a fan of front wheel drive cars. I own a Mini and I love driving it. So I'm going to kind of approach this car as a Mini owner, a front wheel drive BMW family owner, and just see what it's like. First impressions are, when you're not pushing on in a car, really, honestly, I don't think it makes a great deal of difference whether it's front wheel drive or rear wheel drive. Clearly that will come into its own when you really start to get to the limits of traction, and obviously I'm not going to be doing any massive power slides out of corners with a front wheel drive car. But for day-to-day driving, I don't think the average Joe Bloggs public driver would really notice a huge difference. Clearly it makes sense in terms of this engine and the configuration and other family or cars in the BMW family for this car to be front wheel drive in its lower power formats. So while we're driving along at a more sedate pace because we are in a built-up area, let's just have a conversation about the cabin of this car and the just general driving position. And first impressions are it's very high quality, lovely choice of materials, and a really premium place to sit. I can get into a super comfy driving position. This seat is very supportive. I think they look beautiful. I love the little trims, like the colours on the seat belts. But for me, the really important thing is, can I get the seat and the steering wheel into a nice position for driving? And I've got so much adjustment. The answer to that is I really can. I've got the driving steering wheel really nice and close to me, which is what I like. And therefore you can kind of, I could sit in here for a long journey, or if I really wanted to get on it and go for a nice invigorating drive, I can do that as well. My reviews are never so much about the technology and the inner workings of things like MMI and sat-nav. That screen is beautiful and it's a really big size touch screen, very sensitive, easy to use. But what I really love, and I have driven a couple of cars with this before, but BMW's new TFT screen there is just, it's so nice. I love the way the nav in the middle kind of melds into the speedo and the rev counter. And then to top it all off, in this car, I've got a brilliant head-up display. It's so clear, and you've got a really nice big indicator of the speed limit of the road you're currently on, your speed, and if you're using nav, what your next driving instruction is. So, all in all, sitting here, it just feels like a really premium place. Probably should do. This car, as spec'd on the road, is about £37,500. It does have some nice options on it. So it's clearly not a cheap car, but honestly, from the driver's seat, it feels like a really premium car. So safe to say, there is plenty of room and it's super comfortable up front. I wonder what it's like in the back. Let me just pull over and we'll find out. Okay. Let me just jump in the back. Well, do you know what? It's not bad back here. I mean, these seats, they do look really lovely. I love the way the BMW valeters have put lovely stripes in the carpets. Wish I could do that myself. But seriously, my seat comes a long way back when I'm driving, and I've got loads and loads of room here. I have long legs. I'm 6'3". I have plenty of headroom. Nice leg room for such a long-legged guy. I could sit in here quite happily. I love these kind of details on here. It's a really nice place. The panoramic roof gives lots of light to the cabin, so I really like that. So yeah, on the whole, in the back of this car, there's plenty of room. It makes it really, really practical, and then you've got a really good sized boot as well. So yeah, thumbs up for the back seat. Let's get back to the driving. There you go then. Loads of room in the back. I'm really impressed with that. So far, this car is ticking lots and lots of boxes. The next box needs to be performance. Now, I'm not expecting super performance out of this particular model. It's just not got the horsepower. It's not what it's intended for. It's going to get you, it's a nippy little car, it'll get you from A to B, and it's a nice place to sit and a nice place to drive. It has very grown-up road manners. But if we want performance, if we want something that's really going to impress us and make us smile, we need a bit more grunt. And that's where the M135 comes in for me. So that car, far more horsepower than this one, pretty much double the horsepower, and four-wheel drive. Very much an equivalent to the JCW Clubman I drove recently to Bruges in Belgium. So I think what we need to do is swap cars. I like the little 118i. I must say, I really have no problem with a BMW being front-wheel drive. I really don't. I think it drives beautifully. It has a really grown-up feeling. And I can't see the problem. I know some people are going to get into a right tizzy fit about it, but really, it's fine by me. You want a rear-wheel drive BMW 3 Series, 5 Series, get an M car. You know, in a car like this, it really makes a great deal more difference. And also, you kind of have a bit more legroom in the back. It's just the way of the world, people. Get used to it. But I'm going to continue my drive to Brighton. And then tomorrow morning we are going to continue this review with a little bit more horsepower on four-wheel drive. So, until tomorrow, I'll see you in the M135i. See you in the morning. Good morning one and all, and welcome to the M135i. And welcome to a truly miserable and horrible day here in the UK. The weather today is absolutely foul. Torrential rain, lots of standing water on the roads, lots of big puddles. Perfect weather for test driving this car. Because this car, headline figure is the 306 horsepower, but this car's four-wheel drive. And actually, this is perfect weather to put it through its paces. But before we do that, let me give you some stats and everything you need to know about the new BMW M135i.
The newly developed 2-litre engine under the bonnet of the M135i X-Drive is BMW's most powerful four-cylinder petrol engine ever. It has 306 horsepower and 450 Newton meters, and gets to 62 in 4.8 seconds and on to a limited 155 miles an hour. It'll do 35 mpg too. The X-Drive four-wheel drive can split power 50-50, and the differential is integrated into the standard 8-speed Steptronic sport transmission and features a launch control system giving full torque in first and second gear.
So plenty of stuff there to kind of chew over, some really good, interesting numbers. But this car is way, way more than numbers, and the reason I'm so excited to drive it and was looking forward to today so much is the underpinnings of this car are pretty much the same as the JCW Clubman that I drove last week. It's the same engine, gearbox and powertrain, pretty much, with obviously a completely different body and interior. But I love the JCW Clubman very, very much, and lots of people said, yeah, but, you know, you should get the new 1 Series, the M135i. It's the same car, but it's a BMW, not a Mini. So let's kind of try and answer some of those things. The first thing I need to say is when you get in this car, especially on a grotty, horrible, wet day like today, and you start to drive it, very, very quickly you realise that this car is super competent. It just feels like it's looking after you. It's got so much traction out of the corners. You can put your foot down and know you're not going to get into any trouble at all. Well, you might get into some trouble with speed cameras and the boys in blue, but not in terms of traction and putting the power down. It just really, really wants to look after you. But does that detract from the old sharpness of the pure rear-wheel drive 1 Series? Now, sadly, I can't comment on that because I never drove one. But clearly there was a huge fan base for the old M140i. That rear-wheel drive, powerful. It was really the only one of its type. There was no other brand kind of did that. This format of car and size of car with rear-wheel drive and lots of power. So has it lost the edge? I can't fully give you the answer to that. Does it have a different edge or a different feel? Absolutely. Interior-wise and driving position-wise, clearly I've already talked to you about the 118 I was driving yesterday. This, though, just steps the interior game up just a few notches. These seats, I just think they look brilliant. And they are super supportive. I love the kind of Alcantara feel. You don't slide around like you do sometimes in leather seats. You just feel almost like glued in position, ready to attack the roads. The more I drive the car, though, the more I love the instrument binnacle in front of me and the head-up display. It changes a little bit. So in this car we've got some driving modes that are straight. You can jump into them far more easily than yesterday's car. So I've got Sport, Comfort and Eco Pro. Clearly I've got the car for a very short period of time today, so straight in Sport, and then you can knock the gearbox over to the left hand side and engage the Sport gearbox as well, and that just sharpens things up and just makes the car a lot more fizzy and ready for it. Now, I do have one fairly major problem with this car, and that is I can't find any things I don't like about it. which for a car reviewer isn't a good thing, because you're going to go, you're only saying nice things because it's a BMW drive day and you've been invited by BMW. But honestly, sat in the driver's seat, putting the car through its paces on a foul day like today, I really, really am struggling. It's just a very, very good all-round car. I mean, let me put it in Sport and just come off of here and just... It's just got so much traction. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. And I don't really want to get into a situation on the public road where I try and find its limit of traction, because honestly, it's so far beyond what you would normally find on the public road. Most people will never find it. So yeah, I am struggling. Anything you guys don't like? I think the outside styling, maybe it's not quirky enough for me on the outside, but it's just functional. It kind of does exactly what it says on the tin. I know maybe the main criticism from people will be this lack of the rear-wheel drive platform. Honestly, where I'm sitting, I really don't think that's a big thing. I think the amount of people who say that, when do they actually honestly, truly feel rear-wheel drive is everything? When do they honestly, truly, could you tell the difference, you know, between that and front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive under kind of normal day-to-day driving conditions? And I just don't think you can. At the limit of traction, for sure you do. But yeah, inside, outside, great package this car. Really, really great package. It makes a pretty good noise, this car. I'm not quite sure how much of it is being augmented through the cabin. Does that really matter? It does make a good noise. And then when you get to a roundabout and you just want a little bit of scrabble from the front of the car, just trying to find grip when I had lots of lock on there, but as soon as it hooks up, it just takes off with you. Yeah, brilliant thing. So what are my final impressions of the new BMW 1 Series? Well, you can probably tell by the film, I am very impressed with it. Coming from someone who'd never driven a 1 Series at all, and I think that's quite an interesting place to come from, I kind of didn't have any expectations, apart from I knew it would be good. I kind of had an inkling how good the 135 would be, having driven the JCW last week. And it has a very similar feel. The difference between this and the JCW though, this just feels more grown up, more composed, and not as kind of sharp and go-karty as the Mini. And that's kind of what you'd expect, because that's the driving characteristics that you would expect from a Mini. This is just has a far, far more grown up feel about it. My feelings about the front wheel drive 118 yesterday, I really like that car. I really, really like that car. Again, it just has a very solid feel, that it's a super comfortable place to be. The tech on board is great. It just does lots and lots of things really, really well. I guess we do need to just briefly mention the price difference. So the 118 I drove yesterday was 37.5. This is about £43,000 as spec'd. So it is a bit more. It's more than the JCW Clubman by about £5,000. And it kind of does feel that more, actually. It just has that extra premium feel. And I think still for that money, although 43 grand is a lot of money for a car, I think you get good bang for your buck with this. I really do. And I think BMW are going to sell an awful lot of them. But even with a lower power front wheel drive, you can't go wrong with the 118. So yeah, very impressive. I've got to say a huge thank you to BMW UK for inviting me to drive the new 1 Series. It's been a very special couple of days to get to drive these cars and meet the guys I've done on this trip. It's been really cool, and I hope you've enjoyed more BMW content on the channel, and I'll certainly hope to get more going forward. Let me know what you think about the new 1 Series, put it in the comments below, but I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have done so, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film, guys, but I'm going to enjoy this 1 Series some more. I don't think it's going to get any sunnier or any nicer, so I'll be enjoying it in the rain. But I'll see you on the next film, guys. You take care. Drive safe.